American age group 50 to 54. 50
Goes wrong, you got to adapt, right?
It's great, man. It's all about problem solving.
Yeah. I was like, I usually am like an early guy, so I'll call in 15 minutes before and I'll test my mic and test the video and do all that stuff. And then like I told you, Zoom was new. And I'm like, it's not working. It's just kept spinning and timing out. And I'm like, oh man. And then when I called you and you said, I'm like, oh, perfect. Perfect. It's crazy. Another little quick story before we dive into, thanks for calling in, by the way. This, I don't know if you know the guy, his name's Mark Dowdle. Do you know Mark at all? He's
I
an
don't
ultra,
know.
he played lacrosse like you did, and now he's into backyard ultras.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, he just won for the second year in a row the Wausau Limitless Ultra up in Wisconsin. And 15 minutes before I was gonna do an interview with him, my internet shut down. So I had to do it using my hotspot on my phone. And oh man, I was so mad. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, thanks for
Yeah.
calling in, and it's awesome. I see the hat, and we'll talk about that too. I want to ask you about that. But the first thing I'd like to do is I don't have time. I don't think either you and I have time for me to go over every single like ultra sign up record or race that you ran, because it's like 10 pages long. It's crazy how many races you've done and how many you've won and all that. But I really want to just talk about a couple of things. I'll give you the high level and then we can dive into each one. But basically, like growing up in West Virginia, I want to know what sports you played. I want to know, was there a mentor or a coach or somebody that kind of took you under their wing and helped you in some way, and then ask you why you didn't go to West Virginia and you went to Michigan State. But then also when did you really start training and really becoming like a professional runner? And then I want to
Okay.
talk about nutrition, cross training, because I know you do a ton of it and I watch your videos and they are super helpful, because I think a lot of people neglect the weightlifting and the training you need to do to continue to keep going and to be able to
Yeah.
do what you do. And then we'll go and I'll talk about the sponsorship thing and then maybe like what's next for you. So if you don't mind, just start with like growing up where you did, what sports did you play when you were younger? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. Start now or when, or do you,
Yeah, right
is
now.
that, oh, okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah. So, like you said, I was born in West Virginia. We were there until about fourth grade or so. And then we moved to Northern Virginia, Oakton, and I um, came from West Virginia where they didn't have many non-traditional sports. So they had like football, baseball, basketball. I don't even know if they had basketball. I'm assuming they had basketball, but and then getting to Northern Virginia, there were many more opportunities. They had taekwondo, they had karate, they had judo, they had lacrosse, they had soccer. So quickly, once I got to Northern Virginia, I started playing some soccer, played that in middle school, and then at the same time in fourth grade, I picked up lacrosse, and that was the sport that really captivated me. That was the first sport where I was able to see a lot of progress.
Mhm.
Like I was pretty good, kind of originally in that sport, but I was still like on the smaller end. But it was a sport where like just because you're small doesn't mean you can't play. Whereas when you're playing, football or basketball or baseball or something, like it's definitely the bigger you are, the most of the time the better you do. So it was
Yeah.
it was nice that you could overcome not being one of the most uh, athletic or biggest kids with just like hard work and getting good at stick work. And so that really resonated with me, and that was the sport that I kind of clung to and was passionate about through high school. Played
What position did you play?
I played attack.
Attack, yeah,
So I was a greedy attackman. I like to score goal, like to score
yeah.
goals and get all the glory. Uh, but I was, I was gritty. I was not the best kid, but I was a hustler, and that's how I got on the team. And then, through hard work and dedication, got to become one of the captains of the Oakton High School Cougars, who are still good at lacrosse, which is fun to see. They played some. We're now in Arlington, so our kids play lacrosse at WNL, and got to see them uh, lose quite substantially to my alma mater of Oakton, which was sad because I was cheering for WNL. But it's still good to see that like there's a good legacy of lacrosse at Oakton. And our senior year, we won the state championship, and then I went to Michigan State to play Division I lacrosse. So played kind of at a high level through college, and then picked up running just to stay fit. Stopped playing like my junior year of college, and picked up running to stay fit, and quickly found a passion for that, kind of as much as I did for lacrosse. And went from just kind of running from my fraternity house around campus to um, going home with my friend Vince Voisin for Easter, and his mom had run the Boston Marathon. And that's kind of
Oh,
when the bigger goals came into view for me. Was I was thinking, well, if Vince's mom can run a marathon, surely former Division I lacrosse player can run a marathon. And she was nice enough to give me a packet and some guidance as to how to train. And that's kind of what started my journey through the running world. Like, it was literally to run the Boston Marathon one time and just kind of be like, oh, I did a marathon. And then didn't even know you had to qualify for Boston. Like, literally, like, one of the hardest things of any runner's life, and one of the biggest moments is to qualify for Boston, and have the opportunity to run on Patriots Day. Um, and I was just a dumb, like, 22-year-old kid that didn't know that, I should maybe start a little bit lower. So I started with
yeah, no,
Boston, and didn't know you had to qualify. So ran Marine Corps in 1996, got my qualifier, and ran Boston in 1997. And I really haven't turned back since then. I got hooked, like, literally the crowds, the people at Marine Corps, and then just amplified even more at Boston. And been chasing that feeling for the last, like, I don't know, 30 years or so.
right. It's funny. I'll back up a second just quickly because, like, I don't know how many people know about lacrosse, but when I was growing up, it didn't start in my town until like 1980. It was like a new sport I grew up in Peabody, Mass, just
Yeah.
outside of Boston. And it was funny. I was out with my wife, and we were watching the TV was on. We were out some bar, and there was like the women's kind of leading up to the national championship game was on. And what really stuck out to me was there was a stat they put up, and it was the goalie for it was either North Carolina or Boston College, and her save percentage was like 53%, and she led the country. And I thought, holy crap,
Yeah.
that's how many goals people score, right? It was just amazing. Like that sport to me it was again, I think you mentioned it, but if you have a stick and you can just practice stick work, and that is a crazy sport. But all my friends played, but it was baseball season for me. I played baseball in high school,
Yeah.
so I didn't play. But just quick on that one, and
Yeah,
then
it
so
was
now you
a spring sport for us too. So like
okay,
some, and it made it hard because that was when the soccer guys, you would play soccer then too. So like you kind of had to choose between soccer and lacrosse.
yeah,
Um, but the football guys could play, if they were
yeah,
so inclined.
yeah. And I just remember how brutal it was. I don't think people realize that too. You have these little tiny cushion pads. They're not like football shoulder pads and elbow pads, and that's it. And that helmet, I don't know, the helmets have probably come a long way in technology, but back in the 80s, mid 80s, it was just like not like air helmets or anything, just a helmet with little pads and face mask. And it's that ball, man, if you play goalie, you got to have something wrong with you because that thing goes pretty fast and it hits you. It hurts. So now
Yeah.
you do
Well,
the
it's
bombs. You
crazy
had to,
now Well, it's crazy now to see, like, I don't know if you've watched lacrosse lately, but like when I started, like you couldn't find it on TV, or you had to like watch it
Oh,
on
yeah. Yeah.
ESPN2 at like midnight. And now it's like
Right.
center stage, like, on prime time, and they show all the playoff games. And
Yeah.
but like the pads, like you're saying, like I have one of the old bucket helmets, like I played in a
Yep.
men's league like a year or so ago, and like everyone's like, dude, that thing is like such a throwback, it's so dangerous. Like there was some
Yeah.
lady that was like yelling at me for wearing like an old helmet, and I was like, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna get that hurt from it. But like the kids now, like a lot of them don't even wear like elbow pads or shoulder pads. Like, so, as much as the helmet has come along, like some of the other pads have like become even less
Gone
effective.
away.
Like,
Yeah. Like
yeah.
hockey almost.
So,
They have
yeah,
the thin
exactly.
pads, the lighter, the better. Yeah. I do also remember quick stories about lacrosse where these kids that we played against, my team played against, they would sharpen their stick on the end so that they would just slice you across, like right here, across the top of the arm or something when you had the ball or whatever. It was a brutal sport. I
Well,
used to
yeah.
go.
Yeah, they would also like do that on the butt end, and then like when you're
Yep.
standing next to them, they would like slide it into your ribs and stuff. Like, yeah, we
Yeah.
played dirty players like that, but I mean that's like
Yeah.
in any sport, and especially as you get to the higher level, you're gonna have some of that. But like, I mean, that's kind of like an anomaly. Like, I'd say for the most part, the people are just trying to play hard and fair, and but
Right.
yeah, I
Yep.
mean it's just like anything.
Yeah. So now I guess so your friend's mom got you a training program, 16 weeks, 18 weeks, 20 weeks, whatever it was, and then you run it was what the Marine Corps you said, or
It was
was it the
Marine Corps, yeah.
Marine
So I
Corps? So you
trained for
do that
about a
one.
year. Like, so that
Yeah.
was like my junior year Easter. So that was like April of 1995. And then I trained for about a year. And literally, like, it was just like, I know what it is now because I coach people. And like, it was just like one of those, like, yeah, like a 20-week training plan. And it was like, Tuesday run 8 miles, Wednesday run 6 miles at 5K pace or something, and then on the weekend it was like a steady, do 12 miles, and the next week it's do like 13, and it was always like 10. It was like a safe plan. Like it would be like a very,
Mhm.
very straightforward, like, couch to marathon plan. And it worked. And but literally, like if it said like run 13 miles and there was a blizzard in Michigan, like I went and ran 13 miles on the IM that was like a 13th of a mile track, like with my buddy Jason. Like, so like I was like 100% committed. Like it was like I'm like that in things. Like if I want to do something, like I want to do it, and I don't let stuff get in the way. And so I think that's helpful. Like that's how you
Yeah.
become good at many things. But like it really resonates with running, because like the more you, it's like almost anything, but like literally you get better the more you do it, and the more consistent you can be.
Yeah. Um, so now you do Boston and then you said you got hooked. What was the next, like, did you put together a plan on what were you going to do, like from a, the running standpoint, but now also you probably have to have a career, right? Like you're working and, doing whatever else. So how
Yeah.
did you go from, now I want to be a runner, I'm going to train and do these races, but you also have a job, you graduate college and now you're working. I know that a lot of the professional, you see professional runners, or you're a professional runner now, but most runners, 99% of them aren't professional, and they still have a job and they still have a family and do all that balance, like try to balance it all in. And then to still be at that elite level, it's just amazing to me that you're able to do it and can keep doing it at your age. I'm 57 now and I'm still training every day. Like I'm ready to go for, run a race. And and I just admire that in someone, but now you graduate, you're working, and now you want to run. Tell me about how that worked out for you. Try to fit the
Well,
training
yeah.
in with
So
your
I was lucky.
schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I started working as an international shipbroker. I mean, really, when I started, I was more like um, an apprentice. So I started answering the phones, making photocopies at Potomac Marine International, which is an international um, shipping business. We
Mhm.
focused on It sounds crazy now, but it was great business then, and it's been great business until about 6 months ago. But we did humanitarian food aid shipments for USDA and USAID. So um, it was cargoes going all over the world. I went to school for international relations, so it was a great fit that way. But basically, I was an apprentice to two guys, Keith Powell and Fred Hayden, and they brought me in and taught me the ropes. So literally, it was like learning a whole new language, lexicon, all about logistics, shipping, international dynamics. I loved it. Like it was like a postgraduate degree. But it wasn't sexy at first. I'm just like making photocopies, answering the phones. Like I didn't have any skills. So like they had to train those into me, and I had to learn what a freight tender was, and what a deadline was, and what a bid bond was, and so it was an incredible experience, but it was long hours. I'd get in at 7, and I was one of those guys who, like, if my boss got there at 8, I'd be in at 7:45, and if he left at 7 o'clock at night, I would leave at 7:45, and just trying to suck up as much knowledge as I could, and I'd fit the running in around it. So as I got further into the business with the training, I would run to work or bike to work, and then try to take a shower, like wherever I could, and then run again at lunch. And like you're saying, like when I was training for Boston, like that was, I would do that on the weekends, do the long runs. And I was living in a group house with a bunch of people, like you do when you're, I mean, I don't know if people still do that, but that's like what I
Yeah.
did. So I would, had a couple friends, and we were all splitting the rent, and everyone's stealing everyone else's food, and you're trying to get your training in while you're working. And it was before you could work at home or anything, so you're going to an office, so you're
Yeah.
commuting that way. So I just try to be efficient about using my time. And then like you were saying, after Boston, my plan was really to run. I decided to run all the big marathons that same year. So I ran Boston, and then I decided to run Chicago, New York. I ran Marine Corps again. And I figured like, oh, I'll just do all the big ones in the US and I'll be done. And like, there wasn't like the Abbott World Marathon Majors at that point or anything. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll do, a bunch of the big races. And um, the other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to, be back on a team. And so I was trying to join the
Mhm.
local running club. There's a,
Mhm.
a store here in DC area called Pacers. And they had a running team. And so I was trying to make the running team. And literally after Boston, I went in and I think I ran like 250 or something. And I was like, hey, can I be on your team? And they were like, yeah, no, you're like not fast enough, but you can come
Wow.
and run. Yeah, I mean, it would be funny now, like, because I know all the guys. Like, I can imagine, all the guys at that point were probably like 220 to 230 marathon runners, and it would be like some guy coming in and being like, "Yeah, I'm fast enough to be on
Yeah.
your team," and they're like, You don't even understand, man. That's like not the same level. Like, it's great that you did that, um but yeah, you're not fast enough. And it was true. And so like they were like, hey, come to our track workouts on Tuesday nights, and you can see the difference. Basically, I think they were like, hey, come and we're going to kick your butt, and you'll understand why we said no. And so I did. I showed up. I'd bike there on my little bike, and show up, and I started in group 3, and then like the next week I was in group 2, and then like 3 weeks later I was running with those guys. And so eventually, like that summer, I found out they were all going to this race called the Wawa 10 miler. And I signed up, and I told my dad, like, I'm gonna try to just beat some of those guys to like show them that I deserve a spot on the team. And yeah, I ended up doing it. Like I caught like the fourth guy at like mile like 7, and the fifth or the third guy at like mile 8, and then by like mile 10, there was only one guy in front of me from Pacers, and he ended up winning the race. And it's funny now because we're like buddies. This guy Jeff Van Horn, and like I remember I crossed the line, and he like was scared I was going to catch him because he was like looking over his shoulder. and I was like charging him down, and I remember being like, oh, I didn't get everyone, and like he came over and was like, hey, do you want to be on the team? And I was like, yes, so I was so excited to like make the Pacers team, and then that was like my first team since being on the Michigan State Spartans, and um, it was great. Like they really helped me become an even better runner, and I saw my times progress. But they were all freaking out because I had signed up for like Chicago, New York, Marine Corps, and that was like I think 3 marathons in 4 weeks or five
Yeah.
weeks or something. And they were like, nobody does that. You can only do like 2 marathons a year. And like people still kind of believe that. And I just was like, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna see. And turned out like I did pretty well at Chicago, even better at Marine Corps, and had my best race at New York City. And each time I felt stronger. And then it was actually funny, like right after that, my dad heard about a talk at Fleet Feet in Springfield. There used to be a free Fleet Feet around here, and there was a guy, Scotty Mills, that was putting it on, who's kind of like big in the ultra world. And it was a talk about the JFK 50 miler. And I was
Yeah.
just like, blew my mind that you could run that far. Like nobody I knew, like my dad had run a little bit. Um, and he had like trained people to run marathons and was like a cross country coach, but like he didn't really coach me or anything. And he I don't know if he even knew that people ran 50 miles, but somehow he heard about this thing. And so he took me to it. And I just remember like just like they had like I always ask a lot of questions whenever I'm in meetings or whatever. Like I'm curious and unabashedly um my family like gets annoyed. Like you're like, you can only ask 4 questions. Like I always like want to like know more. And so I remember like raising my hand and I was being like, so they don't stop. And they're like, no, they run the whole time. And I was like, that's not true. Like it's not possible. And like it just blew my mind. Like and then I was thinking, well, by this point I'd run like 2:30, and they're talking about like the winning time being like 6 hours. And so literally I was
Yeah.
like, I just doubled the marathon time, and I was like, well, I should win this like a hundred
Right.
percent. Like I could run like 2:30 and then 2:30 like back to back. That's like 5 hours. Like why wouldn't I win? So I like signed up thinking I was gonna win. And then I did not win, and like I was
Yeah.
getting my ass kicked. And like I remember like being at like mile 30, and these guys were like doing like the Galloway run walk, like you
Oh
like
yeah.
run
Yeah.
5 minutes, walk 5 minutes. And I was like, I'm going to run the whole time. Like I told my dad before the race, like, I'm a runner, I'm not walking. And he's like, are you sure? Because, you might want to like walk some of the hills, because it's on like the Appalachian Trail. And um, it's on the Appalachian Trail for like 15, 16 miles. And then you run like a marathon on I don't know if you know the area around here, the C&O
No.
Canal. So it's basically like dead flat. It was like the C&O Canal goes like to the Erie Canal, so it kind of connects like those corridors. So it's pretty pancake flat. And then the last like 8 or 9 miles are on country roads that are like kind of bumpy. And so I just remember like these old guys, like, which is funny because they were probably younger than I am now, but I just in my
Right.
head I was 22. I was like, oh, these old
Right.
guys are like run walking passing me. But I did not win, but I did finish. And like what's so cool is like that was 1997, and by like 2007 I broke the course record and ended up winning the race. So like
Yeah.
it's funny how like you don't get things right away, but you do get things eventually.
So let me pause you right there and ask you this. So you go jump from marathon to 50 miler and you're still young. What about nutrition? I think a lot of people, like when I first started running marathons, it was like 1999, and it would be, I wouldn't even have water, right? Like I don't, I wasn't even training with just pure water probably. And then I thought, as I went into ultras, I was like, okay, it's like basically you can't run if you don't eat, right? And
Yeah.
when did you realize, like in that 50? I mean, I don't know what you did for nutrition, but did you use nutrition? Did you have like Tailwind or any kind of sports drink or
Tailwind
anything like
wasn't
that?
around then.
Yeah. Okay. So
Tailwind has
what
been
did you do?
relative. I think they're celebrating like their 12th anniversary or something. But yeah, like well, at that point, I don't know if you remember, like there was Goo.
Yeah, goo. Yep.
Yeah, so like GU. And it's funny because
Yep.
I'm still sponsored by them and they were one of my first sponsors. So like literally like after I got Pacers, I would just like write notes to like all the companies. And it used to be like, send them like an envelope. Now you could just email people, which is nice. But like Goo was one of my first sponsors. So like I have this old like Washingtonian magazine where I have like my Pacer singlet on and like a big Goo like sticker that I put on. But like so I was using some Goo. A lot of people at that time like use like Coke and Mountain Dew and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yep.
I don't like chocolate, but a lot of guys would eat like Snickers bars or candy. So, and a lot of people still do. Like Courtney DeWalter, who's a
Uh,
famous ultra runner, like she's famous for like all the candy she likes to eat.
oh
Um,
yeah.
and like, yeah, so it was kind of like just making do, like potato chips. There's a aid station at JFK 38 special where they always have soup. Like I was, that's mostly for the people that were further behind me, but like, you could find stuff. I was a vegetarian, so like that makes it a little harder. But people eat like beef jerky and like
Yeah.
salami and bacon and stuff like that. Like for
Yeah.
me, I would, I could have like a grilled cheese or something. Now I'm like vegan, so that would be, it makes it even harder. But like, there's so many more products now that make it easier. So it's kind of like, I don't know, a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, it was pretty minimal. It was some goos and um, some Coke and some water, and that was it. And that's not ideal. I mean, now like there's guys that are cramming in like 4,000 calories an hour and a bunch of caffeine and baking soda and I don't know, all kinds of stuff. And like it's amazing like just to see how much footwear technology has improved, but also like nutritional technology, like you're
Yeah.
saying, like
Without a doubt.
Tailwind. I'm still with Goo,
Mhm.
but Goo has like Roctane, they have Chews, they have which are basically like, some people in the old days would just eat like gummy bears or stuff like that. But
Yep.
like Chews are
Swedish
basically
fish.
like, yeah, exactly. Swedish fish or the Hasbro like gummy bears, Skittles,
Yep.
nerds. It's basically like simple sugars. But now, you can get like sweet potato flavored, gel or something, or like,
Yeah.
um, the apple, even like the applesauce, like the stuff that you give to kids, like the
Yep. Oh
Go
yeah.
Squirt type
Yep.
stuff, like that stuff works
Yeah.
great too. Like I mean, there's so many options, and I have so much more experience now too. Like I had trouble, like, and I think this is a skill you get the more you do it, but like being able to eat and run, like, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's something you need to train, but I didn't really train like that at all. So like I would just try to like eat and then like if I had to throw up, I would just throw up and then just keep going and just keep doing that until I got to the
Yeah.
end, which is like possible, but it's not the best way.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned chocolate, and I remember I ran Chicago. I was going to ask you that. Which one was your favorite experience, like of the majors? I just loved Chicago. Being from Boston, I've run Boston twice, but Chicago like 9 times. And I remember earlier on, maybe 2001, when I was running it, they had the goo zone, like in mile 20 or
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
by the time I got there, the only flavor they had was chocolate. And I thought, chocolate goo right now, I can't even imagine eating chocolate goo right now. It was crazy. And it was like 90 degrees out. Like, I can't do it. But out of the
Yeah, I've had
majors,
that.
like,
Like I've crossed the like well, and I'll usually yell like I don't care anything but chocolate, which just
yeah,
100% guarantees you're gonna get chocolate because the only word they hear is chocolate. So like even like just being able to manage aid stations, like as you mature in the sport and you've been around it, like like okay, the first person's probably going to drop the cup unless it is
oh yeah,
Boston where they like train their people, or Chicago or like one of the big ones, like where they actually, yeah. So like, like, oh, I'm not going to get what I need right away, but I am going to get it. And like the volunteers are out there like crushing it for the most part. Like, but yeah, like, yeah, definitely. definitely had many times where I'd be like, no chocolate, and you get chocolate outrage, or
Chocolate.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so do you have a favorite major? Like just an experience, not maybe the course, but just the whole vibe. Like, Boston's kind of a difficult one in terms of logistics for people that want to watch you. It's a hard one to get point to point. It's
Yeah.
they bus you out and all that. But Chicago, I felt like is my favorite from a spectator standpoint. You can see your runner probably like 3 times during the race, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. And they don't have to go really far. But that was my favorite, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I love, well, I love them. They're all great. I mean, like Tokyo is amazing. Like Berlin is like one of the
I could,
fastest, best courses I've ever run, and it's always like ridiculously good weather. Like,
yeah,
London is cool. I haven't done Sydney yet, but I think they just added that. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's always like Boston, because that's the one. Like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Boston, and like I would, be doing something completely, different. And I don't know if I would have found what I love and what I'm good at, right? Like, and
yeah,
so that one I always try to go back to. I think I've eclipsed like 22 or 23 finishes. Like some of them don't
yep,
count because now I like help people out. And so like they weren't
yeah,
counting like those finishes like for a couple years, but now they started counting them again, which is so cool of them. So yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of Boston finishes and I really love that one. But like the people at Chicago, like Carrie and those guys like that put it on, like they just do like a rock star job. And it's
oh
like
yeah,
one of the most well organized,
yeah,
fastest courses, like
yeah.
good prizes, like they take care of people like from the very front of the pack to the person that's
Last one.
finishing, yeah, like it's just dialed. So like it's amazing. And then New York is like its own entity, man. It's just like a monster, and I love that race so much. Like I love the New York Road Runners are like actual runners, so they like know, like I mean all these races are the best of what they do, right? And like New York is just such a such a cool event. Like, and there's nothing better than, the crowds at all of these events, but like the New York crowds and the Boston crowds and the Chicago, like they're just, I don't know. If you haven't done it, it's amazing. Like on both sides, like even just like watching, like you were saying,
Yeah,
like
watching.
New York, it's
Hmm.
hard to move around too, but like it's just a party. Like
Yeah,
it's just a party all through the city, and it's like a thing. And what's so funny though is like a lot of the shipping companies I work with are in New York, and you could be like, oh, I just ran the Olympic trials, or I was just running in Athens at the marathon, and they're like, but have you run New York? Like, so they just don't care about any other race, which is
right.
like I love that about New Yorkers. Like theirs is the best, and um,
Oh yeah.
you know, and I don't disagree. It's pretty amazing.
All right, switch gears real quick because I know you do a lot of this and I've watched some of the videos and just weightlifting or cross training, how important it is it for you to not just for the like leading up and training for the race, but also for like recovery and making sure you can longevity, I'll call it. But when did you start incorporating that into your running routine? Early on, or is it new?
Well, it's weird. Like, so I did, quite a bit of weight training and strength training growing up, like playing lacrosse. Like, I was always trying to get stronger and bigger and faster. Um, but when I started running, it was not a focus. I was more focused on, like, I read a bunch of training books about running, and like that wasn't something that people were really focused on. It was more about like miles, and like for me, like literally it was like learning everything there is to know about running. Like all the kids in high school that are on the cross country and track team, like had so much of an advantage over me when I first started. Like I didn't even know what one lap around the track was called. Like when we would do those track workouts, they'd be like, okay, we're gonna do 6 800s. And I'd be like, just tell me when to start and when to stop. Like, is that one lap, 2 laps? Like I have no idea. So like I had to learn all that, but like it was nothing that I was reading or the people I was working with were doing much in the way of strength training. So I was more focused on, yeah, like for me it was like the holy grail is getting in triple digits every week on miles. So like it was like 100 miles, to like 120 miles, and that if you're running that kind of volume, it's hard to like, especially when you're first starting, it's hard to like do anything else.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a big factor. And I'd say I started doing more and more of it in like the mid like 2011, 2012, but I'd say it really picked up when I met my buddy that trains me now, Jesse Fuller, and that was in 2017 or 18. And that's made a huge difference. Like I just feel like stronger, more resistant to injury, more flexible, even though like he would say my flexibility is terrible, which it still kind of is, but like that's fine. Like it's better than if I don't do anything. And I feel like I have been getting even stronger. And then in 2020, I met my buddy Tom Merhofer, and I'd say that's also like exponentially helped my training. So like I do a couple days a week with Jesse, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes on Sunday I'll work out with my buddy Tom. And like he introduced me to kind of like CrossFit type exercises, like high intensity, stronger stuff like that, and that's been great. And like I feel like that's really made a big difference in me being able to become more resilient, but also like mentally strong and um like pliable, flexible,
Yeah.
but injury resistant and kind of
Right.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say I'm bulletproof, because like there are times where I've been injured in the past couple of years, but nothing usually takes that much time to recover from, and I think that has a lot to do with like being strong.
Yeah. I think one of the things that scares most runners, this is just my take on it. And I used to be the same way where you're like, okay, I'm running. I want to do the 800s. I want to do the mile repeats. I want to do the long run and I want to do recovery. When am I going to fit in? Right. Are
Yeah,
my
dude, it's
legs
hard.
like
Yeah.
if I do squats on a Monday, should I run Monday afternoon or Tuesday? So like I always was reluctant for a long time because I thought it would affect my running in a negative way. When in reality, it ended up being like I'd have had my strongest runs after the day after I did squats. And your legs are kind of like feeling it, but just I don't know. That's what I think most people are reluctant to. They feel like their running is going to make them keep running better, which it can. But to add in that extra level of training, the cross training with weight training is to me was a game changer, especially for ultras. The amount of muscle you need to kind of maintain, is a
Yeah.
lot, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to be eating away at it. You want to keep building it. All right, now
Yeah, well,
I
and I
have
think, I mean, to touch on that a little bit
yeah,
more,
sure.
I think that the other thing that I was worried about, and you hear this too, is like getting too big, right? Like you're gonna like get
Yeah,
too big,
yeah,
but like it's kind of like impossible if you're running that much volume. Like you're not gonna you're gonna just get strong, but not like put on too much bulk. And I was, and I still am like, every day I'd like weigh myself, and you'd be like, okay, like I want to be lean, I want to be, under this, like for each extra pound you carry, that's extra time, right? And so like I was worried like, oh, I'm going to be putting on muscle that's going to make me slower, and that's going to decrease my marathon time or my 5K time or whatever. And I think what they've shown is like you can do both, right?
yeah,
You can get strong. Like we're not lifting to and then eating 10,000 calories to try to, bulk up, or we're trying to maintain and get strong. So
yeah. You mentioned this really early on about getting a sponsorship. You got Goo, and now it's kind of a
yeah,
little bit, I would say, it might be easier in terms of the way you can connect with sponsors, right? Like in social media, we'll say. But
yeah.
when did you get to the point where you could become a professional runner and maybe not work? And how did that happen? Because I think
Well,
I
I
just
still
yeah,
work, so I don't know if it's ever
yeah,
happened.
right.
Um, but yeah, so and maybe that's something that I'm gonna need to reconsider again. Most of our business with this USDA and USAID, so like all that business is kind of been in jeopardy recently, and so like I am looking at other ways to make our lives viable, and luckily I have good partners with running with Backline and Teva and um, Goo still and Njinji. So like I have a long list of kind of partners that I'm working with, but I'm also looking for new opportunities. So that might be coaching or doing
Okay.
stuff like that, or like doing consulting with different brands. Um, yeah, I mean, I think we live in an area where, I need to do something just besides the running,
Yep.
at this point. And, but I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like lucky that I have been able to find partners that kind of believe in what I want to do, give me the means and opportunity to support me, and then help promote me, and then are interested in like what I can help them do, which is like help spread the word about what they're doing, help in product design, help in initiatives. And so that's been really lucky. And like I've been, fortunate to have, a bunch of different sponsors like we were talking about earlier. Like I started with Pacers like way back. Went to Marathon Guide. I was a North Face athlete for 7 or 8 years, and then I was a Hoka athlete for like 12 years, and I
Yep.
switched from kind of Hoka a year and a half ago to Teva as one of my biggest supporters and sponsors. But it's a lot of the same people I was working with, because it's
Ah,
Teva and Hoka are both owned by Deckers, so like
okay.
it's a lot of people that I know and trust, and it's just been a great fit.
Yeah. For some, I think there's, like you mentioned earlier about lacrosse going from, on at midnight on ESPN 3 or something like that to now kind of like a mainstream. Do you feel like, I don't know, but maybe it's not a sexy sport in terms of like ultra running, right? Like a 50-mile race, that's a long time, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know if it's ever become super mainstream, but I feel like it's a lot more common now. And there seems to be a million races all the time now that are, more than marathon distance. What do you see like as maybe the next 10 years in this sport? Now there's like I looked up who's the most like not prolific, but like say sponsored, and it's Courtney, right? She's like the most, professional like sponsored runner in terms of like maybe she doesn't work. I don't know. But it's not
Oh
a ton
yeah,
of money, right? Like
she doesn't work traditional job. Yeah, like she's working for her sponsorships. Like she's out there doing the thing, and she's at the top of the game. So like she's 100% earning it. But yeah, I mean there's Courtney, there's Jim Walmsley, there's Killian.
yeah,
There's a large number of people that are doing this full time, and this is their gig. And I'm happy for them. I'm glad that there's the
absolutely.
opportunity to get paid for doing something you love, and being able to impact people in a positive light. Like I feel like a lot of those people like are changing lives, right? And so like
Yes.
it's great. Like I've had so many people come up to me and say like, oh, I did this thing because I saw you do that thing. And I feel like really blessed that people see what we do. And it doesn't have to be running across the country or running the Appalachian Trail. It could just be like going out and taking a walk, or like signing up for a 5K, or the next big thing I'm going to do is like row across the Atlantic Ocean. And it's like live your life, and like and they're seeing us do it, and they say, oh, that guy's got a kid that's graduating from high school, and he's got two dogs and a real
Yep.
job, and like all these things, and he's still trying to like live the most authentic way he can, and do things he loves to do. And so like I hope that I can show that to people, and they can take that and do what they want with it. And um it's nice that, people get to do it full time. Maybe if
Yeah.
our business goes all the way away, that's going to be my life too, and that's kind of exciting in a way. Like, it's sad that, something that I love to do in shipping is, changing the way that it works right now, but, maybe it's an opportunity to do something else.
Yeah, I think the evolution of the sport. Yeah, you mentioned Killian. I thought it was funny. Did you see his post on Instagram? I think it was, or any social media. But he was. I don't know if it's true or not, but he was
Yeah,
asking
yeah, yeah.
for pacers at Western States, and but he had
Yeah.
that little disclaimer about what you have to do to be a pacer. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
there's not many people out there. There's probably a handful of people that would be able to probably pace him. You could probably do it, but I'm
Yeah.
like, at
Well,
first I was
I
like,
think
oh, that'd be really
well,
cool.
yeah, it's funny. Well, and I usually open it up for, like, for me, like, I open up my thing for pacers, and literally, like, I don't have many requirements. And it's funny. I'm gonna I was gonna do a spoof of his, kind of like, I'm doing a 100-mile race in Delaware. June 21st, and it's literally like 1 mile down and 1 mile back. And I'm like, I'm gonna be looking for 100 people that can run
Man.
1 mile down
Oh,
and 1 mile back with me. And literally, like, you just run whatever pace you want. We'll just, and so, like, I feel like when I've run across the country or something, like, I had people that, are all different ability levels. Some people would
yeah.
run literally, like, I had a guy come from his deathbed because he was inspired, and he ran, he picked the steepest part in West Virginia to run because he thought I'd be going slow enough to go with him. And I was like, literally, like, man, let's just go whatever pace you want to go. So, like, it's just different. Like, I think what Killian's doing is cool, but,
Oh, yeah.
there's definitely opportunities for people to do it. And I think what you were saying about, like, trying to make things interesting, like, I think that's a good marketing move. Like, that got people interested um, in his business's new normal, and, like, getting eyeballs on that brand. And, like, it's smart, and inclusive, and, it's definitely gonna be cool for somebody to have that opportunity. But it was funny. My brother and all, like, my friends were like, "Dude, you should apply." And I'm like, "Killian and I
Yeah.
already know each other. That would be like, that's not, like, special. Like, it should just be for, like, somebody regular, like, that,
Yeah, somebody regular
is
that can run sub 6 at, at altitude or downhill or uphill. That's
Yeah, exactly. But, like, it also could be like a tryout for that person, right? Like, he might
true.
be looking for somebody to join the new normal team, and, like, if they could keep up with him, then that might be an opportunity for that person to, get a sponsorship or get some
Mhm.
swag and get their name. I mean, they're obviously going to get their name out there, so I mean, it's good. It's like
Yeah.
a chance to grow the amount of people that, have the access to different brands.
Um, just I don't know why I thought of this, probably because we were talking about Killian, but have you ever, I can't remember, I don't know if I remember looking at this and seeing if you did it, but have you ever tried to get into Barclays or run it?
Yeah, I've done it twice. Like,
Oh,
well,
you
I've
did?
been there twice. I haven't done anything other than get my butt kicked. Like, I made it. I went 2 years. I think 2016 and 17 maybe. And I think, the first year, both times I got timed out. So, like, it's definitely a race that, I'd like to try again. But I mean, you really need to, like, do the work to do well at that race. And, like, that means, like, for me, I feel like it's kind of like pledging. Like, you have to go and, like, learn the course, and then, build up your
Yeah.
skills, or you got to just be, like, super fit and try to stay with somebody for 4 laps, and then hope you figure it out the fifth lap. But, like, yeah, it's cool. Like, I really like that community. Like, it's very organic, and, like, it's gained so much popularity, but it's also, like, well deserved. Like, they do a good job with it. Like, Laz and the team that put it on, like, they protect it. And, the people that get into it are badasses. Like, it's really just awesome, and it's, like, unique.
Yeah.
I mean, people have made different versions of it now, but, like, it's still, like, the one that they do is, and it's literally, like, you would think, like, it's like some huge epic thing like UTMB or Western States where you're getting, like, massive views. It's literally, like, it would be like going down to your local like state park and like one of the biggest events in the world. It's just like it's just a Tennessee state park. Like it's like cool because there's a prison near it and that you kind of run through, but like it's just yeah, I mean it doesn't have like sweeping views or a massive mountain. It's just like woods and like
Yeah.
Appalachia, which is awesome to me just because I'm from this area and having done the Appalachian Trail, like it's just like the green tunnel basically that, you know.
So speaking of that, is the John Kelly that's doing he's trying to break the record now? Is that the same one that won Barclays one year? Is that the same John Kelly? Do you know this?
Yeah, it is.
So
Yeah.
I
So
think he's
I
day
don't think you
6
win
into it.
Barclays, you just kind of finish
Well,
you just kind of
yeah,
finish it. But yes.
yeah. But so he's trying to do now. I think he's out there right now, trying to break the record again on the Appalachian
Yeah.
Trail.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's ever had the record on the AT, but he's trying to break Tara's record from last year,
Yeah,
which
that's what I
like
meant.
I
Yeah,
went last
yeah.
year and Tara passed me. Like she was amazing. And so I did close to 60 days and Tara was like 20 days faster than me. So it was
Gee,
awesome. Like, yeah, she did like 40 days, which is just super badass. And so she broke the record and I think John's going for the record and then my friend and the woman that crewed me and drove me around and was just awesome. Sharon, her son Christian Morgan is going for the record based on what John's going to go later in the
oh
year.
wow,
So yeah, so it
wow.
should be cool. I mean, it'll be a great summer. Like and just like I got done with the Appalachian Trail kind of right as Hurricane Helene. I was like 120 miles from the finish when Hurricane Helene came through and just like going through that area like last year I was like there's no way anyone's going to be able to do anything on the trail and just to like see the Appalachian Trail community come together and clear the trail and like
Yeah,
make it accessible for people again is just so empowering like and it just
yeah,
like badass like they're amazing like and so
yeah.
John's I think making really good time. It's funny he reached out he wants people to come out and run with him so that might
Wow.
be something he should be close like I think he just got to Damascus, Virginia, and I don't know if you know, Virginia is like one of the biggest sections of the AT. It's like 1/4 of the Appalachian Trail is in Virginia. So like he's at the very bottom. So I think he has like 500 and some miles in Virginia. So he should be here for maybe 7 days or so.
Yeah, I think so.
Because
You
I
had to
think
do
he's
like 30
averaging
some.
close to like 60 miles a day or something. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That
No,
is
that's pretty
insane.
awesome, man. Like
Yeah,
and like I might try to run out and see him and I don't know, see if he needs any food or laundry. Like I think he's got a pretty big team, but yeah, he reached out like a month or so ago mentioning it and it just depends like I said our son's like graduating, so we're doing
yeah,
all the graduation parties and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah. My daughter, she graduates. Well, she already did the formal. Her party's Sunday though.
Oh,
Um,
congrats, man. Good luck with that.
thank you. Yeah, it's funny because my oldest, it was. I mean, it meant a lot to her too. She's 21 now. She's at University of Iowa, but for Erin, my
Oh,
youngest, she's
nice.
like totally into the planning. So today we're gonna go and we're gonna put together like picture boards and stuff like that for the party. But all right, I got one last question for you because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But so like for now, now I always thought, and you said it twice earlier, but I thought it was Tiva, not Teva. So it's Teva, how you
It
pronounce
is
it?
Teva, yeah. So like I thought the same thing. So yeah, it's like Teva rather than Tiva. But
Okay.
yeah, growing up, I my first pair, I got a pair from my buddy Mike Van Antwerp in college. He was like a lacrosse player. He was like the defenseman. So like he was my buddy that would beat on me in practice. And I remember he had a
Yeah.
pair and he upgraded and he was like, "Oh, I'll sell them to you for like $1." And I was like, "Dude, why don't you just give them to me?" So like I've had a pair since like the 90s. I mean, no longer, but that was like my first exposure. And like we were just calling them Tevas, or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Tivas. And like
Yep.
when I switched over, they're like Teva. And I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because it's always been Tiva to me. And like, yeah, they're like, "Yeah, it's Teva." So it's been funny when people are like, "Oh, you're at Tiva," and I'm like, "No, it's Teva," and so it's
Yeah.
always like kind of the first thing, but it's kind of like when I was at Hoka, no one knew how to say it. Like they would always come in and be like, "Are you at Hookah?" And then it was like, I don't know if you remember, it was like Hoka One One, and then it was
Oh,
Hoka
yeah.
1 and then it was just
Yep.
like, let's just make it Hoka. And so
Yep.
like it progressed.
Yeah. So my question was going to be like for you was what's next now? Now that you have this sponsor, I don't know how long the contract is, but now, you're going to rep them and do whatever you have to do for them. But what's your next thing? I know you said you're going to run 100 mile, or is that the next thing that you're going to do?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I earlier this year, I don't know if you saw, but I set the American record for 50K for 50 to 54 age group. So my next big thing is I'm hosting the first 100 miler in Delaware. That's June 21st. It's like free. It's just kind of like 1 mile down, 1 mile back, like in Dewey Beach. And then 2 weeks or so after that, I'm doing the Hard Rock 100 miler, which is in Silverton, Colorado. That's like one of my favorite
Mm.
events. Kind of big mountains, wild and tough, like, exposure, lightning, stream crossings, like extreme weather, sometimes like you need crampon type stuff. Like it's
Wow.
like a full, master level ultra experience, and I love it. And so I'm gonna go out there, like I said, like I've got a couple people from Teva that are gonna be there. Zach and Nick, and then I have a team of of crew people
Mhm.
that are going to be with me. Like my buddy Tom that I work out with, he and I are going. Guy I coach who's going to crew and pace me is Kyle, and then my buddy Matt Trappy, who's a really amazing photographer, but he's crewed and paced me at Hard Rock for I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 10 years almost. So like
Wow.
it's a pretty great team. And then after that, I'm doing my first Burning Man. So I'm gonna do Burning Man has a 50K. So my trail name is Sparkle Pony. And a Sparkle Pony is someone that goes to Burning Man and doesn't know how to take care of themselves. So I thought it would be funny to do um do Burning Man's 50K, and then it turns out like I actually was able to get embedded in the camp for the running camp. So I'm gonna do like all the events. They have like a 50K, they have like a mile race, they have a 5K, they have like a 24-hour event. So like I'm gonna run all the events and then also kind of help with the logistics. So that's gonna be pretty awesome. So that's at the end of August. Um, and then I'm gonna try to break there's a record that Ted Corbett, I don't know if you know him, he's a super famous African American ultra runner from the late 60s, early 70s in New York City. So he's like one of the first guys to like run the New York City Marathon. He did a bunch of like 24-hour races, 50, he has a bunch of records. So like just an amazing athlete. And he has 50-year-old the 54-year-old age group world American record for 50 miles, and it's really fast. It's like 5:35 or something
Mm.
for 50
Wow.
miles. So I'm going to try for that. So I think that's going to be a really good challenge, and I think I'm probably going to do that at the Tunnel Hill 50 miler, which is a
Oh,
fast
yeah.
one
Yeah.
that a lot of
Here,
people have
here.
run really really good times at.
Yeah.
So I need to actually sign up. My sister was like, "Hey, are you actually going to sign up for? Because I want to do that with you, maybe." So it's fun. My brother and sister also run marathons and
Oh, wow.
ultras. So she's like, "Yeah, if you sign up, let me know." So I haven't signed up yet, but that's on my list. And then I'm gonna probably run. It's the 50th anniversary of the Marine Corps Marathon,
Yeah.
so I need to, probably do that. That's been a race that's been, in part of my life. It was my first marathon, and it's always special. It's a local race for me. Probably pace my buddy Dylan, who's an autistic athlete at New York City Marathon the weekend after that, and then um, there's a thing called the Marathon Project that my agent Josh Cox and Ben Rosario are putting on at the end of December, and so I want to try to break the American 50 to 54 age group record for the marathon. So kind of
What's the record
that's
time?
like, yeah. So I've got I think it's got to beat 224. So yeah,
24.
yeah.
Do you happen to know Ken? Do you know Ken Rideout?
I don't.
So Ken
Mm.
he currently has the world major 50 and over. He's won his age group on all the 50 and over.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, I went to college with him. Yeah, he's an interesting guy, but that's why I
So
asked
wait,
what the
is
record is.
he? He's kind of like he's kind of like loud, like
Oh yeah, he's from Boston.
yeah,
So
okay. I think I've seen him before. Yeah. So like he runs like 227 or something, right? Or something like that.
yeah, yep, yep. That's pretty much
Yeah.
it. He's close. I mean, I don't know why. I don't think he's ever thought about breaking the record, but he has in the official race, for Boston and London and Tokyo and all the majors, he's won that 50 above the last couple of years. But
Oh, cool.
um,
I didn't know that was a
yeah,
thing. Thanks.
yeah,
Maybe I should try for that. Like I usually am giving back then. I usually try to pace athletes at those events, but yeah, it would be fun to go for a fast time.
and then I think I'll end with I know I said I'd end with the other question, but I thought I remember hearing, and maybe you can correct me, obviously, but didn't you do the 7 continents, 7 days, and break the time for that?
Yeah, I've done it twice actually. I
Yeah.
did it in 2017 and 2019, and I think I still have the record. Like the average time, I think my fastest time was 220, 2 220, no, 231 maybe, and my slowest time was Antarctica, like 250. And so I used to have the record on Antarctica, but I think a guy broke that recently. But I think my average time was 246 for 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. Um, so yeah, so I've lucky enough to have done it twice and
Yeah.
was able to win both times I did it. And I think that's a really cool event and a really unique experience because it's kind of like a stage race in that you're like doing a lot of runs back to back to back, but then you add in the travel and time zones and sleeping on planes and but yeah, there's that's like one of my favorite things I've ever done. And to get to
Yeah.
do it a couple times is, I figured it was a once in a lifetime thing and I got to
Yeah.
do it again and it was just as
Do it
special the
twice.
second time. And I could see why, people would go back and do it again just because it is like a huge, undertaking and experience.
Yeah. I asked my wife that for my birthday, and she's like, no, because there's a company that you can pay, and it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I asked my wife, and she said yes, but we got to get it. You got to find someone to help sponsor it. And so I was lucky. I found some sponsors, and thank you again to T-Mobile for
Yeah.
coming through, and my friends at MedStar for being the ones that really helped me be able to do it the first time and the second time and like it's been awesome because like that pushed me to get even um to put myself out there even more like on these big challenges like the same with like I want to row across the Atlantic and like I need to go out to people and try to get support for that now and like that's given me the motivation if you set these huge
Oh
goals a
yeah.
lot of times they have like big price tags right and you
Yeah.
gotta figure out how you're gonna make that work.
Yeah. There's a kid right now. I don't know if you saw it. I just saw it on Instagram. He was going from like I think Seattle to Hawaii in the sailboat, which it's not around the
Oh
world, but
wow.
still. But he's documenting it. And one day he put up a video, and it was like this something happened in the back of the boat where it was leaking. And I'm like, oh my god, can't imagine. Can't imagine.
Yeah, my wife is not very excited about well
Yeah.
actually everyone I know. It's kind of like when I said I was going to run across the country or like the Appalachian Trail like there's so many things that can go wrong, but and like so many scary, like life threatening things. Like I was so scared of traffic, I put off running across the country for like 20 years because I was like, I don't know if I can deal with that. And then, I wanted to do the thing more than I wanted to be scared. So like that's,
Right.
what it comes down to. A lot of these things is like you gotta commit, and then if you can't do it or don't want to do it, that's one thing. But like just to say you're not going to do it because of something that could happen, it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like the right way to live, for me. Like
Yes.
I would rather you know be out there and yeah, and something happen, and I have to figure it out, or there's real consequences, but like I would feel worse that not having tried.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, again, I mean, it's funny because when I reached out to you, I was like, well, I mean, hey, if I don't ask him if he wants to do this, the answer is going to be no. So thank you. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. Um,
no problem.
and any last bit of advice for anybody that's trying to get motivated in any way, like what motivates you? Anything you can just to say, like real last advice on doing something, like you just said, don't like analysis by paralysis by analysis or that kind of thing. Like you know, what can you tell somebody that's just stuck?
I would say like do the thing you want to do. Like, and I would say the bigger and more audacious it is, the more chance you have that you're actually going to do it. Because if it's something like too safe, you're going to be like, oh, I can just do that whenever. So like, it doesn't have to be running across the country, but maybe it's like signing up for a half marathon because you've always wanted to do that, or a 5K, or like I have all these adventures that I want to do. Like I want to ride my bike from or run from DC to New York City and finish in Times Square. Like, and like it doesn't have to be official. Like it could just be like, "Oh, I've always wanted to like ride to the next town, or like take my bike for 24 hours, or sleep in a park, or like whatever it is. Like there's tons of stuff. Or like I've always wanted to catch, like my mom, like her big dream was she always wanted to go deep sea fishing. Like, but like you should do the things you want to do, because like all of a sudden you're gonna look up and you're gonna be like, oh, I don't have the time or money or fitness or the friends. And like there's a great book like that, it's called like Die with Zero, but it's like the point of it mostly isn't like did spend all your money, although that's one of the things is like you can't really take all this stuff with you, but it's like there's you should try to say, for me it's, and the thing that I like to do is try to say yes to as many things as possible. Like don't limit yourself, and don't
Yeah.
don't say no before, because of something. Like
Yeah.
I would say yes and then try to figure it out. And chase big dreams. Like that makes the getting up at 4:30 in the morning possible. And then ask for help. Like that's the other big thing, like I would say, is like put it out there to people and say like, I'm not sure I can do this, but like maybe together we can make this possible.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. Like I remember like one of the things I was most scared about and that was holding me back from running across the country was my biggest client is Maersk, and like asking them if I could take the time off. And they were one of the first people that were like, how can we help you? What can we
Oh,
do?
wow.
We want you to do this thing. And so like the thing that might be holding you back isn't what you think it is. And that might actually be the biggest takeaway is like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, if you don't ask, you don't know.
Right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much again.
Oh man, no problem.
And thanks a lot.
All
Talk to
right,
you.
no problem, man.
Yeah. Good
Thanks.
luck with everything.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks a lot, dude. You too. Bye.